The life force of the centuries-old tree helped the hero restore his energy, but the tree itself was dried out. This did not go unnoticed by the warriors who roamed the forest in search of Wai-chan. The men looked up to see where the dry leaves were coming from in the middle of summer. At one point, their gaze was drawn to the figure of a guy lurking in the branches. The warriors immediately realized who the man was. A hammer on a chain, wielded by the leader of the warriors, Mak-shun, flew towards the boy. The weapon flew into the branch where the warriors found Wai-chan. However, the hero was no longer there. The men gathered by the tree began to shuffle about. The man they were supposed to catch had vanished into thin air. Mak-shun gave the order again for the warriors to find the fugitive. The men continued to scrutinize the surroundings. This time, they did not overlook the branches of the trees or their crowns. The boy could be hiding anywhere. Suddenly, a palm was placed on the mouth of one of the warriors. The man was frightened but could not utter a word. Wai-chan immobilized the enemy without making a fuss. In order not to arouse suspicion of the other members of the squad, the hero dragged the warrior to the nearest bushes. The man who was closest to Wai-chan's hideout looked back, alerted by a rustle behind him. The hero used his power. He threw his hand forward and energy shimmered on his fingertips. Wai-chan touched his opponent with his palm and used one of his techniques. The warrior fell to the ground, just as his comrade had earlier. The guy dragged the man's body into the same bushes. The trio of warriors who were walking ahead were worried. They didn't understand where the two men who were leading the group had disappeared to. Suddenly, the men heard a noise. Wai-chan flew at them from above. The guy was not in the mood for peace talks, and the expression on his face was frightening. The hero swung with force and disarmed the enemies one by one. Warriors did not even have time to react to the appearance of the guy, when their bodies were already flying to the ground. Wai-chan used the hand-to-hand strikes he learned in the caves. His hands and feet were powerful weapons. Another warrior appeared not far from the fight. He was shocked to see what was happening in the pillar of dust. Wai-chan was beating his comrades alone. The man had time to consider the aftermath of their clash, so he didn't interfere with what was happening. He pulled out a whistle to call for help. Mak-shun and the other warriors reacted instantly to the signal, realizing that Wai-chan had been discovered and that they should act as quickly as possible. The men ran towards the clearing where the hero was standing. Their comrades were lying at his feet. Having reached a good point for attack, the warriors threw their knives towards the boy. The weapons cracked the air and stabbed into the place where Wai-chan was standing a moment ago. The guy himself managed to dodge the attack. Mak-shun was the last to arrive at the clearing. He ordered the warriors to stand back and swung his powerful hammer at the boy. The man released the weapon, and the hammer swung towards Wai-chan, blazing with energy pulses. The power that was put into the weapon sliced through the trees in its path. The huge trunks fell noisily to the ground, raising a pillar of dust. The warriors looked ahead carefully, curious to see if their leader's attack had succeeded, if they had finally caught the cunning stranger. When the dust settled a little, the men's faces lit up with panic. What they saw could not be real. A tree trunk flew towards the squad and was driven by Wai-chan. Its speed was so fast that the warriors did not have time to react or bounce out of the way of the homemade projectile. Cries of pain and pleas for help were heard, but Wai-chan was deaf to the pleas of his opponents. They had broken the agreement and had to be punished. In an instant, the scene became a terrible spectacle. Mak-shun, who was standing behind his men, watched in amazement as Wai-chan easily defeated the well-trained warriors. The man was shocked because he thought the hero's power was exhausted, but what Wai-chan was doing was quite the opposite. This kind of power was impossible for a mere mortal man. A portal ring flickered near one of the trees. Wai Chan's wife and the guys who were training in the caves flew out of the portal. The boys looked around in amazement at the place where they had gotten to. There must be an entrance to the village somewhere, but no one had seen it. Hua Young promised to explain everything to her friends later, but now she asked them to hurry up and help her. They hurried to the rock where the fight was to be fought. But when they reached the spot, the boys opened their mouths in amazement. There were many bodies of soldiers lying in front of them. It was hard to believe that so many soldiers were being held back by only one man. Hua Young panicked. No matter how strong her husband was, he was still a man, and any man is vulnerable. The boys listened. There was some kind of battle deep in the forest. They assumed Wai Chan was there. They picked up their swords from the ground and rushed to their chief's aid. Hua Young followed the men's example and picked up a powerful wooden hilt from the ground. However, the girl didn't know much about weapons. Her sword was a scabbard. One of the boys told Hua Young that this was not a weapon to fight with, but the girl was determined. Meanwhile, in the forest, there were sounds of fighting, rumbling, and shouting. Mak Shun thought about the fact that originally his squad's position was advantageous. Now the situation had changed. They had fallen into a trap that the hero had well thought out. Wai Chan continued to skillfully steer the tree trunk like a projectile, destroying his opponents. Now he was fighting with Mak Shun's assistant. The man deftly dodged the tree's blows, and at one point made an attempt to destroy Wai Chan's weapon. Mak Shun ordered the rest of his warriors to go into the woods to surround the guy again and make a surprise attack. He realized that Wai Chan had been on the verge of death more than once, but the guy had amazing skills that saved his life. However, this also prevented Mak Shun from completing his task, so the man ordered the warriors to get ready and launched a hammer at Wai Chan. The hero barely had time to dodge the sudden attack of a powerful hammer. The weapon flew a few centimeters from the guy's body. Wai Chan had a great idea. He gathered chi in his palm and with one movement of the palm ribs cut the chain that connected the hammer and Mak Shun. With a heavy rumble, the hammer fell down, sweeping the ground. Mak Shun exhaled noisily. This was definitely something he didn't expect when he launched his favorite weapon at his opponent. Meanwhile, Wai Chan bent down to pick up the man's hammer. He began to unwind the hammer by the rest of the chain. The hero thought that this weapon could be quite useful in his case. Mak Shun's assistant became furious, swearing. He lunged at the guy who was playing with his boss's only weapon. At the same time, Mak Shun watched what was happening with his mouth hanging open. It all seemed impossible to him. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments to help the new video come out as soon as possible. Have a great day.